you and the jury, though, wouldn't have seen any of this media coverage. You wouldn't have been watching me or any of the other networks. You wouldn't have seen some of the protests over here. You wouldn't have heard Donald Trump speaking in and outside the courtroom, because jurors are supposed to ignore and not pay attention to press coverage of trials that they are effectively adjudicating. All right, congratulations. You've been selected to be on the jury in the first criminal trial of a former president with Donald Trump. So by now, the end of the 5th week of the trial, what have you been shown? I want to walk you through some of the testimony and some of the key evidence the prosecution has laid out, and it all took place in that building behind me. The first witness was David Pecker. He testified to a close relationship with Donald Trump going back decades, in which they had an understanding that information in tabloids could be effectively peddled. Stories could be either suppressed or amplified based on payments. That laid the foundation for the hush money scheme, where someone would be paid a certain amount of money for a story to not be distributed to the press. That's key because effectively gives you the contours and the outline of the hush money payments to the former adult actress Stormy Daniels and to the former Playboy model Karen McDougal. They were central in this case. Now, Rhonda Graff testified. She is a longtime executive assistant to Donald Trump, and she confirmed under oath that Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal were in Trump Tower at certain points. She said she assumed they were there for potential appearances on the reality show The Apprentice when Donald Trump was hosting that show. We then heard from Gary Farrow, who set up the bank accounts Michael Cohen used to facilitate payments to Stormy Daniels. We also heard from Keith Davidson. He's a lawyer who represented both Daniels and McDougal and helped negotiate the financial terms of their hush money deals. One thing to keep in mind is everyone is testifying under oath. It means they have to tell the truth under penalty of perjury. So the jury is hearing all of this, taking it all in, and has to decide beyond a reasonable doubt if Donald Trump committed 34 felonies by falsifying business records and checks and vouchers under legal expenses, when in reality he was trying to conceal these alleged sexual encounters. Really, a star witness in this trial was Stormy Daniels herself. She admitted to being nervous. She described in detail her sexual encounter with Donald Trump from back in 2006. She spoke about colors of the hotel room where Trump was staying, the actual products and items he had in his bathroom at the time, and most importantly, she spoke about how uncomfortable she was and how after the sexual encounter, she wanted to keep it a secret. She also said she feared for her own safety. But the key witness and the standout testimony for the jury is Michael Cohen. He's already pleaded guilty to his role in the hush money payments. He served more than 2 years in prison for that. And now he's testifying to his relationship with Trump. He said he was initially trying to be loyal, but we've also heard testimony from Hope Hicks, who was an assistant to the Trump campaign and assistant to Donald Trump in the White House. And she said Michael Cohen was a fixer only because he mostly broke things and would have to later fix them. She also said Donald Trump wanted to keep the alleged sexual encounter secret to protect his family and to make sure his wife, Melania Trump, wouldn't find out. Michael Cohen, on the other hand, said that Trump really wanted to hide these affairs because he thought it would damage his chances at becoming president. But then Donald Trump is elected president in 2016, and Michael Cohen describes the efforts inside the White House. He also showed a picture from a visit he made to Donald Trump in the White House to suppress the stories still through repaying Michael Cohen through these checks and vouchers, which has been shown as evidence to conceal the fact that he paid off Stormy Daniels. So Donald Trump has been emphatic. Those affairs, those sexual encounters never took place, and he's completely innocent of these crimes. His defense attorneys have tried to poke holes in the testimony of some of the people we've just walked through, and now this week ends with Todd Blanche, Trump's lead defense attorney, basically saying that Michael Cohen is a liar, only self-interested. He wants to make money for himself and attract people to his podcasts and other interviews where he has a financial incentive. So you, as one of the 12 members of the jury, has to decide. Donald Trump hasn't testified yet. It's unlikely he will. But if Donald Trump says he's innocent, what does the evidence, the checks that we've seen with Donald Trump's signature on them, the testimony from people under oath, what does it lay out? Is he innocent beyond a reasonable doubt? Only one juror needs to have that sense that he's not guilty of these crimes in order for Trump to walk essentially scot-free from this criminal trial. But if all 12 jurors, after hearing the testimony and seeing the evidence, feel that Donald Trump is guilty of these crimes, we then get to the sentencing phase, which could include prison time. It could include probation, but it would be historic either way, of course, because he's the front runner for the Republican Party, the presumptive nominee, and is going toe to toe with Joe Biden for the presidency once again. So take all that in. This is what we've been looking at and analyzing here outside the courthouse. You and the jury, though, wouldn't have seen any of this media coverage. Let me show you around. You wouldn't have been watching me or any of the other networks. You wouldn't have seen some of the protests over here. You wouldn't have heard Donald Trump speaking in and outside the courtroom because jurors are supposed to ignore and not pay attention to press coverage of trials that they are effectively adjudicating. Take all that in, folks. That's where we are these 5 weeks into the trial. Those are the facts summarized as they've been laid out by either side. And either way, what happens next will be historic. All right, we got to go. The rain is coming.